Hi everyone, and welcome to another live book review. This month we are reviewing Weyward. So if you haven't read the book, there will be some spoilers in this live. So if you don't want any spoilers, maybe watch it on the replay. But feel free to ask anything you want or give us your opinions on it in the comments. I'm joined today by Maureen. Maureen has been on here before, so it's really good to have you on again, Maureen. So we will start with a quick synopsis of the book. It's basically about three different women from three different times. So we've got Altha from 1619, who starts where she is on trial for killing her friend's husband by witchcraft. He's actually killed by a stampede of cows, and they say it was her witchcraft that did it. And then we've got Violet in 1942, who has been brought up in a very big mansion kind of house with her brother, and her father is a bit of an old, what's the word I'm looking for? An old sod. Her mother died very, very young, and there's a bit of a mystery surrounding her. And then we've got Kate, who is trying to get away from an abusive husband. She's in 2019, and all of them end up, well, Altha starts off in the cottage, but they all end up in a cottage called Weyward, that has got kind of magical properties, or the area around her, the people have magical properties. That in a nutshell, would you say, is that the book, Maureen? So what did we think of it? What did you think of it, Maureen?
At first I wasn't very keen after the first half dozen pages. I thought, oh, but as I got into it, I did enjoy it. I was glad I read it right to the end.
Yeah.
But I don't think I would read any more of her books. I think, well, I'm not into it. I don't like it with loads of birds anyway. The thought of all those birds on that roof, oh.
Yeah. There was kind of the theme of, I mean, they're called Weyward, but that was a name apparently men gave them, but they are witches, but more witches, not like you think of witches as in hocus pocus, I guess, but more to do with like things from the earth and healing remedies and things like that. And all three women have a crow that either follows them or hangs around the cottage. There was a lot of talk about insects and the earth, and for me there was a little bit too much talk about that. I feel like she talked about the insects in all three timelines, and it's like, okay, we got the message. These women are into insects, they've got a crow, and I felt it was a bit overkill with it. Yeah. I've forgotten what I was going to say now. I did have some things written down. Obviously, I was reading some Goodreads reviews about it, and they were saying there was a theme of female solidarity throughout it. I don't think I got that at all.
No, I didn't.
I don't think. I definitely don't think there was any female solidarity.
No.
Maybe between the three women, if they'd been together, there might have been, but none of them really had any kind of female role models in their life. They were no. So I didn't get that. Diane's in the chat. Hi, Diane. She said she didn't mind it, quite enjoyed it once she got going with it. No solidarity. No, I don't think there was. I found the book really slow. I was reading it on my Kindle, and I was at 41% that I'd read, and I'm thinking, there's not much going on here. And I feel like everything seemed to happen in maybe the last 10-15% of the book. Christine says it's not my cup of tea, but I did like the end, and strangely, my husband enjoyed it more than I did.
Yeah.
That's surprising, Christine. That is very surprising, because there was obviously the theme running through it of men are horrible, basically.
Yeah.
Kate's husband was a nasty piece of work. Violet's father was a nasty piece of work, and Violet was raped by a cousin. Who was also a nasty piece of work.
Well, Frederick ended up like he should have ended up in that house with all those.
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, as the story goes on, Alpha is the man that was trampled to death, John, by his cows, was the husband of her childhood friend, and apparently he is beating her up. So there's another abusive man. Violet is raped by this Frederick, her cousin, and she ends up living in this Weyward cottage, and she's actually pregnant, but she brings on a miscarriage. And Kate leaves her abusive husband to go and stay at Weyward Cottage, which has been left to her by Violet, who was her great aunt. And Kate is also pregnant when she leaves her abusive husband, but she decides to keep the child. Now, I thought Violet getting rid of the child, you would have thought that Kate would have wanted to do the same thing. I couldn't quite get my head around that part. What did you think?
No, because actually she was actually raped by Simon, wasn't she?
Yeah, yeah.
But I didn't think, I wouldn't have thought she would have wanted to keep the baby.
No, I didn't either.
But I was surprised.
Yeah.
She did.
Hi, Ricky. Nice to see you. Hi, Claire. Ricky says she really enjoyed this book. Hi, Linda. It's said that authors write about what they know. I hope the author hasn't experienced some of the events she's written about. Yes, that would have been quite a traumatic life, Linda, I think, if she had. Christine Ward says, my husband isn't a nasty piece of work. Neither is mine, Christine. Claire says, hello, hi Claire, it was not outstanding, but I did enjoy it. Which storyline did you prefer? I was most invested in Kate's story. It's funny you say that, Claire, because I found Kate extremely irritating. I wanted to shake her. I didn't understand her. I didn't understand the fact that she blamed herself all her life for her father. I didn't understand the part about her not keeping in touch with her mother. I kind of understood the bit where she was, being abused by her husband, so she'd lost touch with everybody. I got that, but I just wanted to shake her. I quite liked Violet's storyline. The fact that I wanted more of Violet's storyline. I think the fact that she managed to turn her life around and went out and did a degree and, traveled the world. I found that quite interesting, and I would have liked to hear more of that. Which storyline, Maureen, which storyline did you prefer most? Alpha, Violet, or Kate?
Yeah, I preferred Violet.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand why she didn't go to Canada with her mother when her mother married that Canadian.
Yeah.
Kate was so obsessed with her killing her father, wasn't she?
Yeah.
I
couldn't quite get my head around that. But with Violet, I mean, you could understand the way she'd been brought up, back in the 30s or whatever, that she wasn't very worldly. She wasn't very worldly. She didn't know much, as I guess a lot of girls didn't then. But the fact that she did turn her life around, I rooted for her. But I wanted to know more about her.
And her brother came to live with her, didn't he, as well, Graham?
Yes.
Yeah. I only finished it yesterday.
Yeah, so she really wanted Graham's life, didn't she? I mean, it's shocking, really, when you think about it. Girls back then were just, they were basically pawns in a game, weren't they? To be given to another man for various reasons. And it is shocking that that's not even 100 years ago. It's quite shocking.
Mind you, that sort of thing is still happening today, isn't it?
It's very true. Yeah. Yeah.
And not always by poor people either. Some of the rich people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've heard so much about it.
Yeah. Ricky says, quite a strange book, but was definitely my cup of tea. Linda says, I enjoyed the epilogue. More than the main book. It was very slow, and once the author found a phrase she liked, she used it over and over. Yeah, I found that as well. Diane says, yes, Violet's storyline. I did feel like, I was just saying to Maureen before, I did feel like once they started talking about the insects and the crows and whatever else, it was kind of repeated in each person's storyline. And I'm like, we get the message. This is all about the earth and magic's everywhere and all that kind of thing. But it did get a bit repetitive. There was also something I read on Goodreads where they were saying there was a theme of women finding their inner power and strength. Sort of. I mean, Kate sort of found her inner power and strength at the end, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Violet always had an inner power and strength. I don't think she found it. I think it was always there. And I'm not sure about Altha. I don't feel like I knew much about her.
No. It was 1600, wasn't it? So.
Yeah.
I was surprised they acquitted her. I thought they were going to.
I did, yeah. I thought she was going to get. Yeah. Well, I actually thought they were going to burn her at the stake. But yeah, it's strange. Ricky says, I think that's the point, that women were used and abused almost. Yeah. I think you're right, Ricky. As you've said, some women are still living this kind of life with a little power. It is really shocking, really shocking. There was one bit in the book, I think it was towards the end, when Kate is 9 months pregnant and Simon's found her and he's come to the cottage and he's in the house, or he's about to come in the house, and she decides to climb into the loft. She's 9 months pregnant. She climbs into a loft and then pulls the ladder up after her. I mean, I thought that was a little bit far-fetched.
Dragged it in from outside.
I mean, I don't actually think you could physically do that.
No.
Ricky says, I'd quite like a pet crow. They are so intelligent. We were actually we went for a walk in the park yesterday, and I could hear a crow, and I'm thinking, I wonder if that's following me. Yeah, it would be quite fun. But I mean, witches are supposed to have, didn't they call them familiars? But they all seem to have the crow rather than different kinds of animals around them. So did anybody else think it was quite slow paced, the book? I thought it was fairly slow to start. What did you think, Maureen? Did you find it slow?
Very slow to start. Yeah. Well, I was going to give it up, and I thought, no, I must carry on.
I can't give a book up. I can't just stop reading it. I've got to finish it. Very rare I'd not finish a one. The other thing that I don't know if I didn't like it, but I was a bit like, I don't like that, where Altha, at the end of her story, she kind of uses that Adam guy to get pregnant. And I just thought, I didn't like that bit. I just thought it was a bit, well, aren't you using men the way men are using women, kind of thing. Ricky says, haha, I definitely wouldn't have got into my loft at 9 months pregnant. Oh, no. I don't think I could have got into it when I wasn't pregnant even. I certainly couldn't now, but back then I couldn't have done. Yeah, I thought that was a bit weird. I wonder why that was a bit of an odd thing. So yeah, what did anybody else think about that part with Adam at the end of Alpha's story, where she kind of gets him to sleep with her so she can have a baby? Because they've all got to have a girl, haven't they? That is then going to become a wayward woman. Linda says there's a pigeon sits outside my window. Don't know if it's the same one. I've took a photo. See if you can talk to it, Linda. Diane said it was slow pace at first, and I kept looking at the Kindle percentage due too. Yeah, I tend to, if you read on Kindle, you kind of nobody's ever read on Kindle before, which I guess that never happens now. Then you get the percentage of the book that you've read. And I find if I'm not enjoying the book, I'm more likely to look at how far through I am.
I couldn't get it on Kindle.
Really?
No, I could only get a sample of it.
Oh, I wonder why that was.
I don't know why that was. Yeah, because I tried and I couldn't get it. So I bought it off of eBay in the end.
Linda says she nearly gave up, Maureen. You nearly gave up reading the book, Linda? Christine says someone in the next town to me was attacked by a crow last week. I shouldn't laugh. That's not funny. Yes, it was very slow, but like you, I can't give up on a book. I didn't like the part with Adam. No, I just thought that didn't sit right with me. It was like, you know, if we're saying that it's wrong for men to use women, then it's got to be wrong for women to use men, hasn't it, really? Claire says, also, Kate should not have gone out driving with a storm coming at 9 months pregnant. Yeah, that was a bit of the bit where she goes out in the car and it's snowing and
she walks then, doesn't she, back?
Well, she crashes the car and then walks through the forest.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, no, that was a bit far-fetched. And then instead of ringing her friend, Emily, to come because she knows Simon's coming, why does she not ring her friend? Or ring the police straight away? It just, let's climb up into the loft and push the ladder in.
Yeah.
And there was another piece in the book that I don't think it was explained enough, or maybe I just didn't read it properly. The bit with the locket with W on it, that apparently came to bits and it had the key on.
Yeah.
Was the key for the drawer in the chest of drawers that was in the attic, in the loft? Was that what the key was for?
Yeah. But I didn't see how a tiny key like that would be in a locket would fit in the cabinet.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Because when was that necklace from? Was that necklace from Alpha's time? Or was it from Violet's time? I couldn't figure that out. And who lived in that cottage in between Alpha and Violet? It was Violet's mother, wasn't it? She lived there.
Yeah.
And the part where they were talking, so Violet, who was in 1942, her mother had died when she was very small, and there was a bit of a secretive thing around her. Nobody would talk about her. But apparently, obviously, she was a witch as well. And it turns out that the doctor had attempted to give her a cesarean section and killed her. Or was it a hysterectomy? No, they'd attempted to give her a hysterectomy because she was too strong. Very strange. And she died because of that. Which I thought, again, was an odd part of the storyline. Claire says, where I live, someone was attacked by an owl while out running. Oh, my God. An owl. I like owls, but I don't want to be attacked by one. Ricky says, unfortunately, Kate wasn't the brightest button in the box. Well, baby, it's a wonder it wasn't born in the woods. No, she certainly wasn't very bright, was she? No. Linda says, Kate is a very silly witch. Christine says, I should think the key was from Violet's time. Yeah, I didn't quite understand where that key came from, or what was it for? I mean, was it the story of Violet that was locked in the desk? Is that what it was?
Yeah. There was a letter, wasn't it, in the desk?
Was it a letter?
Yeah, because it was addressed to Elizabeth, and he was writing it as Lizzie.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
So to Violet's mother from Violet's father. Yeah.
That's what she was trying to find out, wasn't she? Because it was signed just by R.
So do you think Violet's father really loved Violet's mother, or I didn't quite get the relationship?
Well, in those days, it was a bit weird. The relationships were, weren't they?
Yeah, but apparently didn't he get her to send a crow, so his brother and his wife were killed. That should sent the crow, so the carriage that they were in crashed, and then he was sole heir to the estate.
That was Frederick, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was lots. Yeah. When I'm thinking about it, there was lots of different bits of that book, and I don't know if they all fitted together quite right. Claire says she had the book version, but it took a while to finish. It was easy to put down. Linda says, I have always been interested in anything about witchcraft since childhood, so was looking forward to this. I liked it. Ricky said, same here. Christine says it was Violet's story in love letters from her father to her mother. He just wanted an heir. Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was Violet's story as well. Linda thought it was a story about love of a mother for a daughter of a mother, and a sister to a brother. So which one was, Linda, which one was Kate then? I get that the Altha story was a love of Altha's mother for her, and Violet and Graham's love for each other. But what about Kate? Where was the love in Kate's story? Was that the love for a baby? Maybe I need to read this book again. Linda says, I liked that Violet and Graham loved one another. Yes, yeah, that was a nice touch. I would have loved to read a whole book just on Violet.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a good story. Has anybody got any other comments that they want to say about the book? I think I've mentioned all the bits that I'd put down. I actually gave this 3 stars, so 3 stars out of 5.
Yeah.
I very rarely give a book 5 stars. It was readable. I certainly wouldn't read it again, even though I probably should if I've missed bits. And I don't think I would read anything else by Emilia Hart. What was your thoughts on that, Maureen? How many stars would you give it?
Either, and I would give it 3.
Yeah. I know I was talking to Deb, who's usually on here with her. She was saying she'd given it a 3 initially, and then after thinking about it, she says it should have been a 2.5 because she didn't like it either. Linda said, who was the driver of the car that killed Kate's dad? I don't think we knew who the driver of the car was, Linda, but I think it wasn't that down to the fact that Violet had gone to see them because it's had some kind of premonition, and it was really her crow that distracted Kate as a young girl, which meant she ran away from her father and made the car crash into him. So if it hadn't have been for Violet, Kate's father wouldn't have died then, would he? Claire says Violet's father was briefly bewitched by her mother. He used and then dropped.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that now. Diane said 3.5 stars if 0.5s are allowed. 0.5s are always allowed, Diane. Christine says, I thought the same. Violet needed a book of her own. I wouldn't read any more of her book either. Diane says, if not, then 3 stars, certainly not 4 if we didn't allow halves. We definitely allow halves. Claire would give it 3 stars. Linda says, don't read it again, Karen. Ricky says, I liked it because it was different. And if someone was interested in witchcraft, I would recommend it. I think it had its it had its good points. I thought it was I thought the writing was good. It was well written, and I liked the jumping between the different timelines. I like that.
Yeah.
And I like it when they've got 3 different characters. So yeah, they're interweaving the storylines. I really like that. As I've said in a previous video, I really like the book Valley of the Dolls, which is also about 3 different women. So I like that. Claire says, I don't think the book deserves a rereading. I think the reason that I'm saying I want to read it again is because when I'm listening to what people are saying about it, I'm thinking, did I miss that bit? Did I just not pick that up? And it's a temptation to go back and read it again without the rush of having to get it finished before I do this, to see if I can get anything else from it. But then life's too short, isn't it, to read a book again that I didn't put. I wouldn't say I didn't like it. I just don't think it was. It hasn't been one of my favorite books.
No.
Yeah. I was just saying to Maureen before we started, I've just read a book called How to Age Disgracefully by Claire Pooley, and I absolutely loved it. I really, really loved it, and I would be tempted to give that 4.5 stars. It was funny. The main characters were they were in their 70s. It was very fast-paced, and I just thoroughly enjoyed the whole book.
What's it called?
It's called How to Age. I think it's called How to Age Disgracefully.
Oh, yeah.
I will be reviewing it and a few other books on a video that I'm doing next week. But yeah, I did really enjoy that.
Yeah.
So has anybody read anything else this month that they'd like to recommend? I'm trying to think if I've read any of their books about witchcraft.
No, I haven't.
I did read what was it called? The Ministry of Magic or something it was called. I think that's what it was called, and I can't remember who wrote it now. I'm good on that. I'm sure I've read other books about witchcraft, but I can't think offhand what there would have been. I've seen the Harry Potter films, if that counts. What did you say that book was you had just read, Maureen? Did you say it was called Secrets?
Yeah.
And
that
who
was very good.
Pardon? Who was that by?
And Angela Arney.
Angela Arney.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Linda
Arney.
Yeah. So yeah, Secrets by Angela Arney. We're recommending.
Yeah, I do recommend that. That's very good. I would give that 4 stars.
Yeah, 4 stars.
Mm.
Linda Tong says the 3 generations of women were smoothly interwoven by the author, and all 3 were strong characters.
Ooh.
I think they were interwoven quite smoothly, but I think I would disagree about Kate being a strong character.
Mm. No, she wasn't.
I don't know if her character... I feel like Kate and Altha's characters weren't kind of fleshed out enough. I wanted more. Claire says she likes the artwork on the cover of her version. What was on it, Claire? I think the version of mine, this is my journal I did for it.
I've got
the cover of the one I read with the crow. This book did actually lend itself to some really good stickers for my book page for it. It was easy to do that. Linda said, I have just read 2 Nights in Lisbon. Who was that by, Linda? 2 Nights in Lisbon.
2 Nights in Lisbon.
It sounds familiar, that. Christine says she's reading the Shetland series by Anne Cleves and really enjoying them, although I'm only on book 2. I'm pretty sure I've read one of those. I like the Anne Cleves book set in North Devon. I've definitely read an Anne Cleves book. I can't remember which one it was. Are they all detective novels, Anne Cleves? I have a feeling they are. So was it Linda who said she'd really enjoyed the book? Linda, how many stars would you give it? Linda Tong, I think it was. I'm pleased I read it because it's probably not a book I would have picked up otherwise. And I think
I was
sorry?
It's not a book I would have chosen.
No, but I think that goes for all of the books we've read in the book club. They're probably not books I would have picked up myself.
No.
I do like that. Christine says, yes, they are detectives. I thought they were. So next month's book, or May's book, it's May tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah.
May's book is Mrs. Winterbottom Takes a Gap Year, which I'm really looking forward to. That sounds like a bit fun. And June's book is Her Fearful Symmetry by Audrey Niffenegger. And Maureen says she's not reading it.
No.
Why are you not going to read it, Maureen?
Too scary.
Too scary.
I read the blurb in the back and I thought, no, it's not a book for me.
I can't remember what it's about, to be honest.
What it's to do with ghosts.
Is what you see, I don't mind that. I don't mind that. Ricky said she would give it a 3.5. Christine says Detective Perez, and she does Vera too. So, right. So Anne Cleves writes Vera. That's set pretty close to where I live. Vera. So, but have you ever watched the TV series of Vera? Is it Brenda Blethyn who plays her? I don't know if she was originally from the Northeast, but she's got a very bad Geordie accent.
My son's laughing.
The Geordie accent. Linda says Chris Pavone wrote 2 Nights in Lisbon, an enjoyable thriller. I like a thriller. I'll have a look for that one.
I'm going to look at that.
Chris Pavone. Claire says beautiful plants and insects on a green background with a crow in the middle. I've seen that version of the cover. I wonder if that's an older version. And Christine says yes and yes. I forgot to mention in the book, in Weyward, about the tarantula, the spider that she called Goldie. She kept in a hat box under her bed.
Oh, yes.
I mean, can you imagine?
No.
Now, I'm terrified of spiders. I really do not like spiders, even if it's a picture on a magazine. I have to keep scrolling. I can't do spiders. But I was quite intrigued by the one she kept in a hat box because she said she could see its eyes. I mean, how big was this spider?
The spider was looking at her.
Yeah. Would you have kept a spider in a hat box?
No, I wouldn't. No. I don't like spiders either.
Would anybody in the chat have kept a spider in a hat box as a pet? Because if you would, and you've got a crow following you, then maybe that says something.
Yeah.
Ricky says she absolutely loved Vera. Linda Orm, I've already read May's book. Didn't you say you'd enjoyed it, Linda? Mrs. Winterbottom. I just like the sound of it.
Yeah.
Linda Tong says her fearful symmetry is a different approach on a ghost story. Maybe you should give it a try, Maureen.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. I will.
Claire says she can't get May's book in Canada, but will try to tune in. Oh, that's a shame, Claire. I wonder why some of the books aren't available in different countries. Diane says no spiders as pets. Christine says no spiders at all. No, my grandson, he's 8 now, but I think when he was 6, we went to this. It was like a little zoo thing, and they were doing meet the animal kind of thing, and they had snakes and tarantulas, and he was holding them in his hand, and I'm like, no, keep away from this. I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it at all. So I think, unless anybody else has got anything to say about the book, I think I'll end the video here, and I hope everybody can read May's book, Mrs. Winterbottom. If anybody in the chat or who was listening to the video hasn't joined our Facebook group for the book club, then I will put the link to it in the description below this video, because the replay will be up once we're finished on here. So if anybody hasn't seen it, they can watch it. But yeah, any books anybody wants to recommend, please feel free to put them in the Facebook group. I always like recommendations for books, and anything else you want to say about reading or books, just feel free to do it. And thanks to Maureen for joining us today. If anybody wants to join us live on the chat, if they've got a webcam and a microphone, you'd be very welcome. I can have up to, I think it's up to 7 people on here. So it's good to have someone to talk to while I'm on. So thanks for coming on today, Maureen.
I enjoy it.
Sorry?
I enjoy it.
Good. Christine says, nice chat today. It was a nice chat, Christine. Ricky says, no, would not keep a spider, and definitely not in a hat box. The tarantulas are huge. It would not have been happy in there. No, I don't suppose it would. Claire says, my version is a large print edition. Good for my eyes, recovering from surgery. I'm sorry to hear you've been having surgery, Claire. Hope you're feeling okay now. So yes, thanks for everyone who's come into the chat. I really appreciate it. It's nice to know I'm not sitting here talking to myself. And once again, thanks to Maureen. So hopefully I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.
Bye.